Mr. Edward Kame'enui. Close? Good? Okay. Currently serves as a Commissioner for Special Education Research at the Institute of Education Sciences at the Department of Education. Prior to joining IES, Dr. Kame'enui worked at the University of Oregon, where he was a faculty member for 17 years. During his tenure with the University of Oregon, he directed and co-directed numerous federal or state research and training grants, including Oregon Reading First Center and the Western Regional Reading First Technical Assistance Center. He has served as a multitude of national committees, review panels, and research boards in general and special education, has published extensively. Mr. Kame'enui holds a Bachelor's of Arts in Pacific University and holds a Master's and PhD in Special Education from the University of Oregon.
Chairman Miller, Ranking Member McKeon, distinguished members of the committee, I want to thank the committee for asking me to testify today to explain my involvement in the design and implementation of the Reading First program. The Reading First legislation introduced a transforming requirement. Instead of allowing states to receive funds based solely on need, this law asks states to describe how they would use evidence or scientifically based reading research to mount a systematic and sustained effort to improve literacy in the nation's most challenging schools. This immense effort required clear and unflinching leadership, which it received because it asked states, districts, and schools to take inventory of their current efforts in teaching beginning reading, and in doing so, either change or modify what they were doing. It meant that states and school districts competing for Reading First funds had to select and implement reading assessments and curricula based on scientific evidence. This transformation from entitlement to scientific accountability, akin to a Kuhnian paradigmatic shift, has been difficult for everyone: teachers, administrators, school board members, and other stakeholders in states, districts, and schools, including the U.S. Department of Education. After all, how were states to know what beginning reading assessments were valid, reliable, and scientifically based? How were they to know which beginning reading program were based on the best available science? Whose science and what evidentiary standards were education officials to use in carrying out these basic teaching and administrative tasks? To ensure the success of this initiative, it was imperative that answers to these questions be provided in a short and condensed period of time to comply with the timetable provided in the legislation. As such, it was necessary to rely on researchers from around the country who possessed the knowledge and expertise to do the work. With perfect hindsight, and given the scope of the ongoing inquiries, it is now clear that more should have been required by the U.S. Department of Education and others involved in the program, including me, to prevent the issues that have arisen. My involvement in the Reading First program began in August 2002. At that time, I was asked by the Department of Education, through a colleague, to put together a committee charged with the responsibility of developing both a process and a product that would provide assistance to state and local education agencies in selecting reading assessment measures. To respond to this request, I selected 7 researchers to develop and apply a process, criteria, decision rules, and procedures for identifying reading assessment instruments designed for screening, diagnosis, progress monitoring, and outcome evaluation. In a period of 8 months, September 2001 to May 2002, my colleagues and I completed this unforgiving task. In doing so, the committee reviewed more than 100 assessment measures and selected 29 they judged to be the most frequently used instruments and readily available for review. In selecting some of the best experts in the country, it is not surprising that those experts would also be authors of popular and innovative assessment tools, which the committee as a whole selected to review. It is also important to note that it was our understanding at the time that more assessment measures would be reviewed and that technical assistance to support states in the continued review and selection of assessment tools would be ongoing. What lessons did we learn from this experience? On the technical side of this experience, we learned that if high and rigorous standards were maintained for judging trustworthiness, very few tests would meet those standards. Because so many tests failed to provide information about the required technical features, the committee adopted a set of minimum standards of trustworthiness with the goal of providing the field with the best of what was available at the time. On the non-technical side, I want to note that at the outset we took steps to avoid any conflict of interest, even though we received no guidance, explicit or implicit, from the contractor or the U.S. Department of Education in this regard. As researchers, we employed traditional academic standards in reviewing and adjudicating the research and technical evidence. The standards we used required each committee member to disclose his or her proprietary interest in assessment instruments and to not review those particular instruments. Moreover, committee members did not discuss as a group the ratings of any of the assessments. In addition, I would like to note that neither I nor any member of the committee that I know of violated the conflict of interest procedures that we had established. However, knowing now what various questions that have been raised about the appearance of conflicts, it is apparent that we should have required a different set of standards than the traditional academic standards, such as formalized procedures for defining and identifying conflicts and even appearances of conflicts. In conclusion, it is my sincere hope that issues regarding conflicts of interest procedures that have arisen in the implementation of Reading First do not irreparably tarnish this important and unprecedented federal program. These issues should not diminish the supreme importance in continuing to use rigorous, scientifically based evidence in making educational decisions. Thank you.